Diablo 4 Season 10 is here, so in this video we're going to take a look at some of the strongest leveling builds for each class to help get you started. All builds featured in this video will be linked in the description below, so check them out there for more details. So let's kick it all off with the Sorcerer, one of the most popular classes in Diablo 4, and the Hydra leveling setup is still one of the best leveling builds in the game, so let's check out what's new with Makuna in his infamous Hydra Kuna guide. Now this one plays similar to last time around. You'll keep casting your 2 Hydras for consistent damage, then summon Familiar to boost up your damage, and of course cast Firewall to deal AoE damage and control the battlefield. Use your Flame Shield and Ice Armor when you need to for defenses, and then just stay on your toes and kite to your heart's content. Once you get to levels 15 and 30, you can equip the Fireball and Familiar enchantments too, which make a huge difference in the speed of your leveling. The Fireball enchantment makes mobs explode when they die, greatly enhancing your clear speed, so pick this up as soon as you can. It was also massively buffed this season, going from 66% damage to a whopping 120. This build doesn't really rely on any specific aspects or any major requirements to get it online, so you can just follow the skill tree, and as you level up, it'll only get stronger. Speaking of the skill tree, we'll start off with Arclash, Fireball and Flame Shield before picking up Hydra at level 13 and Firewall at level 18. And then you'll pretty much just play the same way all the way through to level 60. There you can then decide whether to push into an endgame Hydra variant or maybe check out one of the new Sorc builds in Season 10, with Ball Lightning being one you'll definitely want to keep an eye out for. Moving on to the Spiritborn next then, and here we have Immortalizer's Thorns Rock Splitter setup. Now Thorns has been a strong leveling build already previously, but with the huge buffs to Gorilla, it makes this build even more enticing. The Gorilla Spiritborn is focused on optimizing the Thorns damage across the build, whilst also staying tanky enough to shrug off all enemies whilst blasting through straight to the endgame. So what does the gameplay loop look like? Well, you want to cast Ravager to close the gap, cast Armored Hide for 100% block chance, counterattack for 100% dodge chance, then cast Toxic Skin to apply poison to surrounding enemies, whilst also boosting up your Thorns' damage. Then you have the Protector, which has also been buffed for barrier generation, unstoppable and insane damage output, and then you can just simply cast Rock Splitter around everything else. The main focus with this one is to scale up our Thorns damage, where boosting our weapon will drastically increase the damage output of the build whilst leveling. The rest of the gear can basically be whatever we find, but Immortalize recommends going for defensive aspects to help make the leveling process even smoother. With the addition of the new Chaos perks, you can also reduce the 3rd attack activations to 2nd attack activations too, with the new Alacrity Chaos power, which feels amazing in this build. Up next then we have the Druid, and with no real major changes to Lightning Storm Druids, it looks to continue to be a really reliable staple in Druid leveling builds, especially with the new season mechanic making it feel like an even better option. The Lightning Storm Druid packs amazing AoE clears, huge damage and a ton of mobility. It might lack a bit of survivability, but it shouldn't really matter too often, as everything else should die before you do anyway. Lightning Storm performs incredibly well in Infernal Hordes, so this should definitely be your go-to mechanic. So essentially you'll cast Lightning Storm, weave in Maul for buffs and boss power, use your Wolves to build Fortify and tank your enemies, cast Earthen Bulwark to break any control effects, and use Hurricane whenever it's off cooldown. Plus for easier boss kills you have Cataclysm as well. Lightning Storm is a low spirit cost skill that packs insane AoE, so we're going to be focused on stacking as much damage as we can through aspects and tempers. Getting the Mercenary in early really helps for the defensive side, with the extra armor or resistances from right here, alongside prioritizing armor and elemental resistances too. Honestly though, once you get Lightning Storm rolling with a few bits of gear, some runes, and those juicy new Chaos perks online, you'll be blasting your way through straight to level 60 and getting ready for all the fun that's to come in the endgame. Moving on to the Necromancer next then, and minions have always been an incredible leveling build that transitions super well into late game faster than any other build in the game. They come online super quickly and you'll see this build's power in no time at all, with their amazing boss damage and ability for you to simply AFK whilst your minions play the game for you. The gameplay loop is super simple. Keep up the Crepify and the Skeletal Priest buff, cast Reap to spawn a corpse, cast Corpse Tendrils on the corpse, and use Soul Rift as and when you need to for big defenses, as well as even more damage. We'll be investing into both skeletal mages and golem to level up as fast as possible, prioritizing stats like attack speed and ranks of minion mastery. The build doesn't really rely on any specific uniques either. However, the Ring of Mendeln is a huge damage scaler once you do unlock it, though you'll still feel more than strong enough without it. We start the skill tree off with Reap before picking up Decrepify at level 26 and Corpse Tendrils at 35. And aside from that, we're just buffing up our key skills along with some passive improvements to our skeletal warriors, durability and overall damage. Remember guys, if you want to see exactly which skills to take at every single level, you can tick this leveling path slider here and follow along with it as you play. Moving on to the Barbarian next, we have the Lunging Strike build from Cliptis, which is super fast, super fun, and extremely strong. It's innately tanky, has very high mobility, solid early damage, and has many ways for resource generation. Now, as it's a basic skill build, you simply don't have to worry about Fury. Just hold down Lunging Strike and it will bounce you to the next monsters. Use your shouts on cooldown and use Ground Stomp around multiple enemies to help reset the cooldown of Wrath of the Berserker. One of the main reasons why this build is so strong is due to the new Chaos perk introduced in Season 10 called Dual Threat. Here, when you cast a basic skill, it also uses another equipped basic skill, dealing 80% of normal damage, which works incredibly well with this basic skill build around Lunging Strike and Frenzy. Then you'll also want to take advantage of the runes Moni and Tech, as this is a mobility based build with Lunging Strike to utilize Moni perfectly, and the Tech runes allows us to constantly spawn earthquakes, which are just insanely strong for any Barbarian leveling. You can also combine these with the Kerr and Ker runes to spawn wolves and make enemies vulnerable, even freezing enemies along the way too. In the skill tree, we'll be starting out focused on Lunging Strike and Frenzy before then pathing towards unlocking Wrath of the Berserker as early as possible at level 25, and using this to really pummel our way through the leveling process. And if you want to check out the full skill tree along with gear and progress this build into the endgame, click the full guide link below. Finally, we have Mippy's Dance of Knives Rogue build, which is one of the fastest leveling builds in the entire game due to its high mobility, imbuement flexibility, great single target DPS, and without any real energy management needed, meaning you can fly straight through to the endgame. You do need movement speed to fully weaponize this build properly though, and it can have a little lackluster AoE without star shards. Now, there's been a lot of talk about Death Trap again so far as Season 10 kicks off, with it already being strong recently, but now gaining even more power with the access to new uniques and chaos perks. However, with that being said, Dance of Knives still remains as the strongest option for leveling specifically. So let's take a look. For its rotation, you'll cast Shadow Clone and Dark Shroud whenever they are off cooldown. You'll also want to activate Shadow Imbuement against big groups of monsters, or Poison Imbuement versus bosses and elites. Cloak yourself with Concealment for more movement speed, vulnerable application and damage, and apart from all that, just spin to win with Dance of Knives. Now remember, it's extremely important that you constantly keep moving with around 160% movement speed to not run out of charges on your main skill, Dance of Knives. But luckily you get more than enough of it through your skill tree, even at level 1 if you already have skill points from Renown. Dance of Knives itself provides 20% while spinning. Stutter Step is another 15% after critting. Dark Shroud gives you plus 5% per shroud, so 25 in total. Haste grants another 15%, Momentum another 30% at max stacks, and Concealment grants a 30% boost when you cast it. So even without Concealment or movement speed boots, you should already have more than enough and can always be above the 200% movement speed cap. So if you want to zoom around and spin to win from levels 1 to 60, give this build a try. And that wraps up our quick overview of some of the strongest leveling builds for every class in Diablo 4's Season 10 update. Remember to boot these builds up by clicking the links in the description, and there you can also find all the featured creators and experts channels there too if you want to catch these builds in action. Thanks for watching guys, enjoy the new season and we'll see you in the next one. Take care.